today in this video, guys, we are going to be recapping Team USA's third and final Group C Olympic basketball game versus the nation of Puerto Rico. And as you can tell from clicking on this video, Anthony Edwards absolutely balled out. Remember, he's just 22 years old. We'll save his final line in this game for the end of the video, but in these 3 games, he is now Team USA's leading scorer at 16.7 points per game, and he's doing so shooting an absurd 62% from the field and 53% from 3. Now, if you stay till the end of the video, I'm going to go over every other 22-year-old or younger in Olympic history for Team USA men's basketball, and you can see where that compares. But before we get into today's recap, I want to remind you the Olympic Committee absolutely sucks, so I'm not using any game footage for this video. I've already gotten copyright struck once, and I just don't feel like messing with that. It can literally terminate my channel if I get too many. So instead, once again, I have scoured the internet for crowd footage for this game, and I have to give a big shout out to my guy Clutch Time NBA. Go subscribe to his YouTube right now. He took a bunch of videos, was kind enough to let us use them, and I offered to pay him and he declined. So please give him some love. If it's his footage, I'll be showing his channel on the screen when I do it. But without further ado, let's get into this game. Team Puerto Rico is 0-2 heading into this one, and the spread for the game is 35.5 points. Team USA has already advanced to the quarterfinals, but they can lock up the #1 seed in the knockout round with a win today. Puerto Rico has Jose Alvarado. He is their only player that is currently in the NBA playing for the New Orleans Pelicans. They do have Tremont Waters, who played for LSU a couple years ago and was in the G League for a little bit. As for starting lineups, Joel Embiid is back in the starting lineup after getting benched versus South Sudan, and then Drew Holiday's hurt with an ankle injury, so we have Jason Tatum again in the starting lineup alongside the usuals, Steph Curry, LeBron James, and Devin Booker. Also, Peacock completely messed up the beginning of this game. They didn't start streaming until like midway through the first quarter, but Puerto Rico got off to a hot start, jumping out 12-6, with Jose Alvarado having 6 quick points. The second unit of Derek White, Anthony Edwards, Kevin Durant, Bam, and AD would come in with the game tied 17-17, and they would actually get down 25-17 thanks to this Aleem Ford 3, which capped off an 11-0 run for Puerto Rico, and they lead at the end of the first quarter 29-25. And at this point, this is kind of the blueprint to beat Team USA. If you're going to, you got to shoot it great from the field. They went 11 for 21 in that first quarter, and you have to hope that Team USA is turning the ball over and just not really moving it, which is kind of what they got back to in that first quarter. But the second quarter, and honestly guys, the rest of the game was just all America. They outscore Puerto Rico 39-16 with fantastic ball movement, tons of assists from everybody. We mentioned how great of a game Anthony Edwards had. He hits a 3 here and then this alley-oop. He has 12 points early on. Also, in this second quarter, it's probably the best pass I've seen in a while. LeBron hits this behind the back baseline pass to Joel Embiid for the layup. And then he also has this dunk off a missed Steph layup. And with this leak out dunk, Team USA goes into the half up 64-45. I want to say I really do commend Jose Alvarado for playing for Puerto Rico. It's really cool that he is able to represent his country, even though he has literally no NBA talent alongside of him. And let's be honest, he had a fantastic first half versus South Sudan in their first game of group play. I think he had like 20 points at halftime before severely spraining his ankle, and I don't think he's been the same since in this Olympics. With that being said, you just have no chance when you're going up against literally a superstar lineup top to bottom. As you know by now, Team USA completely routes, but there are some fun things in the second half for Team USA. For example, Ant hits this pull-up 3, putting Team USA up 81-54, and then he has this long corner 2 that somehow falls in, and Tyrese Halliburton gets to check in for the first time this game with 28 seconds left in the third quarter. Immediately, Anthony Edwards blows by his defender, Euro steps around the rim protector, and has this reverse layup, getting him 19 points on the day so far. USA leads 87-62 at the end of 3, and this was when the arena started playing Call Me Maybe. LeBron was absolutely jamming out. To start the fourth, Anthony Edwards gets this steal, and he has has this windmill dunk that really just puts an exclamation point on his performance tonight. And then on the ensuing possession, a little known fact, Kevin Durant gets this rebound, making him the all-time leading rebounder for Team USA. He already is the all-time point scorer for the men's team, and he's just 6 points away from breaking Lisa Leslie's record for the men or the women. Like I said, Anthony Edwards is having himself a night. Again, he gets to the rack and finishes, and then he has this pull-up three, ending his night at 26 points on 11 for 15 from the field. All right, I know this is super nitpicky because there's 48 seconds left. Maybe Jason Tatum's just messing around, but I have no idea what he's doing pump faking with that much space into a worse look. He actually has not made a three in these Olympics so far. And then to end the game, I actually love this from Joel Embiid because obviously he's playing into the boos and the hate that the France crowd has for him. He trolls a little bit at the end of the game as the clock is running out, and Team USA wins 104-83. They had 30 assists as a team, which is a team high during this Olympic cycle, including the exhibitions. Let's take a look at the box scores, and then we're going to talk about the knockout round, which starts on Tuesday. Let's start quickly with Puerto Rico. Jose Alvarado finished in just 22 minutes with 18 points on 7 for 13 from the field, and he did pull off one of his famous Grand Theft Alvarado moves. I'm not sure that we have footage for it given this whole copyright thing with the Olympics, and then Ismael Romero had 12 points and Aleem Ford 10. For Team USA, Anthony Edwards, like we said, led the way with 26 points on 11 for 15 from the field. He was actually 8 of 9 from 2-point range. LeBron James had 10 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists. Joel continues not to really shoot it that great, but he did have 15 points on 6 for 14 from the field, and I do think this was one of his better games. Jason Tatum had a double-double, 10 boards, and 10 points. Before we get to the knockout round and looking at these matchups, I want to take a look at the averages for Team USA in these 3 group play games, starting with Stephen Curry. So Steph is actually really struggling shooting wise in these Olympics so far. He is shooting just 26% from 3 on 6 attempts per game. And so I'm definitely looking for that to improve when we hit the knockout round. LeBron's averaging an absurd 14.3 points per game, 7.3 assists, and 6.7 boards on 64% from the field. Embiid's averaging 9.5 points on just 42% from the field. Drew Holiday's averaging 10 points per game. Jason Tatum has also shot it very poorly. Matter of fact, he has not made a three-pointer in these Olympics. And actually, Jason from Hoops Tonight had a great tweet a couple days ago talking about Jason Tatum's jump shooting. I wish I could get a Synergy subscription. I'm not sure if Jason Tatum hit a jumper in this game or not, but he has been struggling mighty with his jump shooting. Anthony Davis averaged 8.3 points per game, 7 boards, and then Devin Booker 10.3 points per game on 52% from the field. He also has shot it super well, 55.6% from 3. Bam's been really good too, primarily on the defensive end, but also he's averaging 8.3 points per game, 4.7 rebounds, and he's just so versatile. Having Bam and AD out there being able to guard a lot of people smaller than them has been invaluable for Team USA, especially with Joel Embiid struggling. And then lastly, our 2 leading scorers, you have Kevin Durant, who's averaging 16 points per game on 63.6% from the field, 71% from 3. Actually, tonight, he went 3 for 7 from 3, and it was his first misses from 3 in these Olympics. And finally, Anthony Edwards, in just 18 minutes per game, is averaging 16.7 points per game on 63% from the field. Like we said before, 70% from 2-point range and 53% from 3. I did forget to mention this too. LeBron is just living at the rim as well, shooting 81% from 2-point range. But yeah, so I mentioned in the beginning that we would talk quickly about how Anthony Edwards' performance at 22 years old stacks up versus other 22-year-olds and younger in Team USA basketball history. Nobody 22 or younger played in 2016 or the 2021 Olympics, but in 2012, James Harden was 22 years old. He averaged just 5.5 points per game game on 50% from the field. In 2008, Dwight Howard averaged 10.9 points per game and 5.8 boards. In 2004, there's a ton of guys 22 and younger, but the two highest scorers were Carlos Boozer and Dwayne Wade at 7.6 points per game and 7.3 points per game. But Dwayne Wade shot just 38% from the field. And then in 2000 and 1996, no player 22 years or younger played. In 1992, it was just Christian Laettner at 22 years old, averaging 4.8 points per game on 45% from the field. And that Olympics was the first time that professionals actually were allowed to play in the Olympics. So that is all the further our history goes back. I think it's pretty safe to say Anthony Edwards is by far having the best 22-year-old season we've ever seen on the international stage. I think there still can be a couple times where he maybe dribbles it a little too much, and even on defense, he can just get a little lazy. But overall, he's absolutely unguardable, especially when he's hitting threes like he has been. I'm not going to say he's been Team USA's best player. I think at this point, it's pretty easily been LeBron through these 3 games. I would say overall, Anthony Davis is still very high up there. He had an incredible 5 games in exhibitions. But either way, I wanted to provide some context for you on that one because obviously it's remarkable the way Anthony Edwards is playing at 22 years old. And it's funny because like sometimes we think, you know, Luka, Shea, Ant. Luka and Shea are both 25 years old. They're like a full 3 years older than Ant. We really shouldn't even have them in the same conversation. Luka was probably better than Ant at 22 years old, but you get my point. Like, I think we forget how young Anthony Edwards truly is and how much more upside he honestly has. All right, I have to correct myself. I just realized Shea actually just turned 26 years old. But regardless, let's get to the knockout round. So like we've said before, 12 teams in these Olympics. The top 2 seeds from each group advance, and then the 2 best 3 seeds, whether it's record or point differential. I want to say too, Team USA did have the best point differential, as you saw in the final group standings graphic that I flashed, going 3-0. And here are our quarterfinals. They will all take place on the same day, Tuesday, August 6th, starting with Germany, who is undefeated 3-0 versus Giannis and Greece, who was 1-2 and just barely squeezed in. Then you have Serbia and Australia that will play next. Serbia is 2-1, Australia 1-2. I think that's going to be a really good game. Australia still super underrated in my opinion. Then we have France and Canada. I've said this before. I feel like France's guard play is just atrocious. I don't see how they have a chance versus Canada. And then finally, a team we have not talked about and has gone under the radar, Brazil versus Team USA. Brazil can really shoot. They're shooting as a team 45% from 3 in these Olympics. Obviously, 3 games is a very small sample size, but they're led by Vitor Benite, who's averaging 14.3 points per game. And then Bruno Caboclo, who is a first-round pick back in 2014, now plays in Serbia. They also have Raul Neto, who played in the NBA for about 7 years up until this past year, most recently with the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2023. He's actually been hurt and just got back versus Japan, their last group play game. And then, of course, Gui Santos, who plays for the Golden State Warriors. He's been pretty underwhelming so far, has not really taken that many shots, but Team USA cannot take anybody for granted. They will play the winner of Serbia and Australia in the semifinals if they are lucky enough to advance. And honestly, guys, I've been thinking about just booking a round trip to Paris for these quarterfinals, semifinals, and eventually the final. I think it'd be sick. I could get my own game footage with my phone, but honestly, I don't know if I can pull the trigger. We'll see. I'm thinking about it though. I had to throw that out there towards the end of this video. If you're still watching, I'm thinking about it. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you Tuesday after Team USA plays. And as always, we'll see ya on the hardwood.